Let me just see. It's working. See?
And just in time, too.
Yeah. Now you are on here.
Julie Rogers. Okay, so I am the chef at a Tibetan Buddhist conference center in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And I first met Julie when she came in and said, "How can I help?" So I proceeded to probably give her 20 instructions in 10 minutes, and she did everything so pleasantly and so interesting. We just started talking and we hit it off, and we've been talking ever since. Julie is an amazing poet. She wrote her incredible collection. It's called The House of the Unexpected. David Meltzer, her husband, wrote the introduction, and literally every poem in there is amazing. And that's, I never say that, but I every time I pick up her book,
Wow.
I enjoy it.
Yes.
Julie reads with jazz musicians, and she is very connected to not only the Tibetan Buddhist community, but the community of people who assist others in dying with grace and dignity. And a wonderful human being, a more wonderful poet, if that's even possible. Julie Rogers.
Bring her up here with a nice round of applause. Woo-hoo! Thank you, Dave. Julie, do you have books with you?
Yeah, and CDs.
She has books and CDs with her. And may I just make one suggestion? You said you play with jazz musicians?
A little.
Okay, because there's a great open mic in the city. It's every third Tuesday or something. I'll tell you about it more later. They have a jazz band that backs up the poets.
Sounds fun.
And they're good. So I'm figuring I'll let you know about
Okay.
that more in detail.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're hired, Peter. We're gonna tour. Thank you for having me here, Dan, and thank
Wonderful.
you to this lovely cafe. I read here once, the night that I met my husband.
Whoa!
And I have never been back till tonight. He died, though.
Yes.
A little while ago.
Yes.
But I decided not to read maudlin, sad poems tonight. I'm going to read really intense, disturbing ones instead.
You know, we like that.
But I'll soft pedal it at first just to sort of loosen the gears. And I hope I don't go too long because I didn't really time myself.
So I'll give you like a signal or something,
Yeah.
like at a 5 or
Grimace.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd like to start with a poem about spring, and it's called Bearing Fruit. Her yearning to be fruitful was so great she could ripen in seconds. Pink-cheeked and full-buttocked with the glow of a peach and a taste as sweet as the real thing. She admitted longing for shapes, seduced by pears, their firm figures lounging in a full bowl beside the bananas, arching their backs and spooning the oranges so juicy. Strawberries pursed as lips, pressed by grapes, piled deep in their perfect skins. Her passion? To run them through her hair, almost too much for a girl to bear. You thought it was going to be about little flowers and stuff? So, oh, there's this other one here, yeah. I'm reading this and dedicating it to those of us who have spent time alone, particularly in a retreat where you can't leave. You're trapped with yourself, sometimes for a long time. And this is about waking up in the morning. It's called Supreme Being. At dawn, when the forest grows blue, and the dark, many-armed creatures towering over the house turn into trees, and the murky sky becomes an empty sea, whatever is awake, whatever is the deity, sheds its cape of stars to sit silently, pondering the world in nakedness. There is no grandeur. The swollen eye of the sun is slow to open. The earth still creased with the weight of night. Things are as they are, and in this, the heart of all that is supreme beats. Thank you. Now for the news.
Thank you for the forewarning.
Sorry, I just can't keep my mouth shut. I'm so upset. Seriously, I'm not even going to read just a few. That's
Okay. All right.
So this is called Above, So Below. Cement sidewalks don't hold up. Asphalt covers earth in a heavy, cracking frame. Man reaches deeper than tree roots. Electric pipes, shallow, winding veins. Septic valves, heavy stench sinks in dark sludge below basements, graves, tunnels. Onto far thoughts of base rock, pure dirt buried, while we fly like gods, thinking we're above it all. Comfy in air conditioning, turn on the tap, take a dip, beyond the spew of waste, oil slicks, wafting plane fumes, chemtrails, car exhaust, fabulous toxic sunsets, glazed flesh pink, blood red, coughing industrial poison, our death rattle. Thank you. This is a poem for the immigrants. I know that all of our hearts are sore right there. And there's a quote. It says, "Aliens have been sighted in fields across America. No one can explain the light." That's my quote. Okay, this is called You're It. Run. Find your hole, hole in, and dig. No past here, invisible. Thought you were hidden, but suddenly you're seen, even in the dark. Dirt under your nails, tunneling through deep history. No longer privileged to work for the privileged. Signs of arrival and departure everywhere, hanging over the revolving door that takes you in and out. Waking to face yourself, shadowed, living, hide and seek. Lost and found on both sides of a wall in a country you're unsure of, without papers to explain you're already home. Thank you. When the audience groans, is that good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Is it good for you?
Yeah, they get it and they go, oh no, I don't want to get it.
What's really hard is when you read and no one moves and no one says anything and no one smiles and everyone just took Quaaludes. I have had readings like this.
That's work.
That's definitely, that's, yeah.
It's like, what's wrong with these people? No, it's you. It's not them. This is for the couple that live on the Harrison Street off-ramp in Oakland, where I drive often. It's called Barely in the Race. Might seem easy to sit there on a corner with the sign misspelled, hand-printed Hungary. More legible than a doctor's scrawled script for meds. Maybe forgot to take them or just can't afford it. Anyway, it's about food, water, shelter, just begging day and night, weathered face facing traffic, sometimes with a dog to feed, or a kid, or a bottle, or reading a book. Waiting with no room for anything else. Just your life, all packed up beside you in a shopping cart or just a bundle crouched down on the curb at the starting gate of the finish line. You know, it's so disturbing. I turn on the news and I'm sometimes in tears. And so we don't want to talk about it because we hear about it all the time on the news, but it lives down in there like this underlying weight. Grief, it's grief. So I just, I think I just need to go on about it.
Speak, Oracle.
This isn't foretelling the future, this is right now. This poem was written while I watched a documentary film about rape in India. And it's for Yoti Singh, who died. And there's a quote from Simone Weil that says, "Oppression that cannot be overcome does not give rise to revolt, but to submission." And it's called For the End of Submission, for Yoti Singh. As they eyed her, she appeared to be an object. Clay yoni in a roadside stall, breast pressed flat in a centerfold, open-faced, easy target, a boy's wet dream with no name, no heart, no home, no life. When they took her, the child, the girl, the woman, pinned as a butterfly in a black frame, an alley, a room, a bus, a public toilet, they say she lured them. Skin, eyes, small soft hands, fingernails dug in, cries like a cat on proud streets where porn hits back. After they had her, she fell, a crumpled candy wrapper, half-eaten fast food tossed in a gutter, a package ripped of strings like torn newsprint to wrap meat soaked in blood. But why don't they see her in the headlines? Screams from a gagged mouth become whispers. If she tells, they don't believe. They blame her. Now this is an old poem. I wrote this poem like, I don't know, at least 20 years ago, but not a thing's changed. It was written when I was looking in a Time magazine and the photograph said it was taken in Beirut, so whatever was going on 20 or 25 years ago in Beirut. It's called From Here. It's easy to forget about war. But in this magazine, the road is blown to bits by mortars. There are pictures of apartments pockmarked by bullets, families laid open in alleys. In this building, no one is home. Whole rooms are gone, a mouth with the teeth knocked out. On a balcony, laundry is hanging, fabric waves in the breeze. All over town, a plague has crawled in from out of the mouths of machines gone crazy. On the corner at lunchtime, a boy stands holding a gun. Almost done. I wrote this poem one night when I'd had a really terrible day, and I just had such a great time. And I read it like 5 times and laughed at myself every time. I thought, this is really therapeutic, you should do this more often. It's called Grief, Another Perspective. Well, actually, it's published in this book by Les Gottesman, right here tonight with us.
which you have copies of.
which I don't have copies of. They're sold out.
Oh, too bad.
I have copies of the other ones.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway, thank you, Les. This is
Thank you.
my pleasure. Anyway, this is called Grief, Another Perspective. Sad is a turd you step on more than once. Stays deep in the tread, prints the hall floor as you come to meet the people who would notice. Even if you remove your shoes, the smell is unmistakable. You nod and smile at the table. All the guests are your friends, and you want to become a napkin gently protecting your lap. I think there's some recognition here about that feeling. Well, since my husband passed, I've been spending an unhealthy amount of time alone to write weird stuff. And this is one of them. This poem is called Phoning Home. I call myself to be sure I'm home. To hear the jangling multiple rings, accessories worn in solitude. Message machine empty again, just seeing if I'll hear myself talk myself into and out of the receiver. A familiar voice so close I can follow it outside and into the apartment I've escaped. Finding I'm gone as I sit here on the balcony, under a pale moon's curve hung like a low pearl in the sky, on a chilling spring night, no longer quiet. I just have a couple more, they're short.
Oh, well, you have about like 5 minutes, so.
Oh, okay.
I'll just let you know. We'll work it all out.
It's okay. This is really ridiculous, and so it made me very happy to write it. And it's for my dad, George Herms, and Frank Sinatra. It's a very strange combination of men. You should check George Herms out, though. He's a fantastic collage and assemblage artist who lives in Southern California. I dedicated it to him because I knew that he's kind of nuts, so he'd get it. And my dad and Frank are gone, so they can't complain. So this is called Come Fly With Me. You might recognize that song title.
Yes.
I feel nuts. Don't want to identify with it, but I keep on noticing a lost airline snack in the seat between us. Even pretzels aren't enough. Still expensive to fly with baggage. I tell my friends travel light, a sure tip, though I don't. Trust me, let's just look out the window together so we can see empty opening up and the clouds covering it. The craziest part is there's more than one view through this sky. You may see different than I do. Still, we'd all rather fly united. Thank you. Well, maybe a nature poem. This is a poem for a friend of mine I haven't seen for a very long time, Rob Murphy. It's called Purpose. A pine cone stuck, tangled in needles of what is, mashed on one end from the hard fall. You arrived here on your own, below the buds arching in brush poised to flower. the firs offering pale tips of fresh green, and you, disheveled and bent as a vagrant, crumble in the shadows of the pine trees, blindly sustaining the forest. What will come of you? Seeds will pass from your sharp nubs into the hungry earth. She will take you down. Into her, she will take you apart, and she will give you a way to be of use. And I'll just end here. This is a poem for poets. What a perfect crowd. Thanks for coming. About writing, of course. And it's called Marveling. I marvel at magic syllables, letters from nowhere, wild codes appearing suddenly, black elixir on white wonder, a channel of mysterious who knows. I am currently marveling how words puzzle together, making pictures and feelers pert. Show and tell, talking to the page, mind radio on, the reporter bent over in the light to keep track of late night news. Over and over, Marvelous keeps showing up without warning, walks around like it owns the world, writes me up and pens it down, cryptic messages from an empty envelope spilling out into poems, and I get to watch. Thank you.
Julie Rogers, ladies and gentlemen. See, wow, Peter had it pegged right. But I wanted, Peter, will you kindly stand up for just a moment, please? Peter Marti will be next week's feature, just so you know. I didn't forget to mention that, so he will be here, and I will try to do him as well as you did her. So we're going to take a break. This thing will not be running. It'll look like it's running, but it won't be. So you may talk amongst yourselves about 7 or 8 minutes. We'll be back with the second half. And Rob, where's Rob? He will be kicking off the second half and then closing it up. And I appreciate the people who read briefly, because we should do that because we have a full list. And it's wonderful, happy, it's marvelous. I can't remember that song. Anyway, talk amongst yourselves. And there you go.